So this presentation is going to be going over how to set up a bank account, which is an essential tool for a lot of young adults so that they can be on their pathway to financial freedom. The most important thing about this presentation is knowing what you would like to get out of it. So I guess the important question is, what do you want to know? Whether you would like to know more about the definition of a bank or a financial institution so that you can better understand it, or the different types of banks that are out there for people to use, or also the different types of accounts that are available at these banks, or even how to set up those accounts. That will all be discussed in this presentation, and you can link to those specific slides on this page as well. I guess the first thing for us to discuss is the definition of a bank. So this is more of a working definition that we can use to better understand our financial institutions that we use in today's world. And it says, according to dictionary.com, that a bank is an institution for receiving, lending, exchanging, and safeguarding money. And there are many different types of banks, so they will all do different aspects of this working definition. So we can now look at some of the different types of banks there are and how they fit into this definition. There are three types of banks that I believe are crucial to know about if you are a regular, normal consumer. And we will go over those in more detail in just a second. So the first bank that we'll talk about is a retail bank. And this is the most common type of bank. This is where most people set up savings and checkings accounts. And the focus for these banks is consumers. So these banks can use your money to invest in different institutions to earn more money and be able to replenish your funds after they use them. These banks can also issue credit or debit cards and also checkbooks to their consumers. The next type of bank we will discuss is a central bank. And a central bank is often the monetary management system for an entire government. So, in the United States of America, the Federal Reserve is the central bank, and it is tasked with the management and upkeep of the economy, as well as monitoring other banks within the country. The third type of bank that we will discuss is a credit union. So credit unions are very similar to banks, except that they are owned by their customers and are not-for-profit organizations. So with these banks, they are always used by people that share some type of characteristic. So every member of a credit union has some characteristic that they have in common, whether it is where they live or where they work or anything like that. For example, one credit union that I actually am a member of is the Purdue Federal Credit Union, which requires association with Purdue University. Other than that, they are more or less identical to your regular retail banks. And at these different types of banks, essentially the retail and credit union banks, there are multiple different accounts that you can set up. Three of the main accounts that we can talk about today are savings, checkings, and credit card accounts. So the first account we'll go over is a savings account, and this is an account that you can use to store money that you don't plan on spending soon. These accounts can also be set up to accrue interest over time so that the bank can add money to your account in return for the bank being allowed to use your money. This applies to a traditional bank. If you use a credit union to set up your accounts, they do not add interest to your money in savings accounts because they do not use your money. Another type of account that you can get at a bank is a checking account, and this is an account that is typically linked to a checkbook or a debit card account. The money in these accounts is typically used by the person in a timely manner, so I would usually only place an amount in these accounts that I would be comfortable with spending. And then the third account that we have is a credit card account, and these accounts are usually linked to a credit card. So when you use the card, the amount of the transaction is charged to this credit account and must then be paid off at a later time. If not paid off for longer than a certain period of time specified by the bank, which is usually a month or so, then the account will begin to accrue interest and you will owe more money depending on how long it takes you to pay this off. It's important to keep track of your credit accounts so that they don't get too out of control and you pay everything off on time. Failure to pay off credit cards can lead to you getting a bad credit score, which can affect your abilities to get a loan, buy a car, buy a house, and many other aspects of your life. So now that we know a little bit more about the types of banks that are out there and also the types of accounts, we can talk about how to set up an account at a bank. So when setting up a bank account, it's important to weigh the options that you have available to you between the different types of financial institutions and then also deciding which option is best for your needs and wants. Once you've done that, it can be very simple to set up an account. So all you need to do is visit the institution between normal business hours and speak with a teller or employee. They will best explain your options and talk to you about the different accounts that you can set up. Oftentimes, you'll set up a checking and a savings account with your financial institution. In order to do this, you often have to provide some basic information. This may include your social security number, some forms of identification, mail with your name on it, or various other documents. You should check with your specific institution that you choose to determine what all is required. When you set up an account, some institutions may require a minimum deposit amount of money to initially open the account. Once your account is set up, your cards will be sent to you in the mail, and then you can use the accounts any way you see fit. However, it is important to maintain your banking accounts by depositing money and closely monitoring your spending so as to not overdraw your accounts or rack up debt. This can be done either manually by balancing your checkbook or technologically by using different applications to check your account balances in real time. And those are all the steps you need to set up a banking account. You can reference back to this presentation at later times whenever you need it, or always use the internet or a banking institution near you to find out more information. Looking back through the presentation, once you look at it from the normal edit view, you can see the different notes that I've taken down here in the notes area. There are on every single slide except for some of the general ones. This one just mentions to wait for a response from the audience so that you can have more interaction with them. The definition side is pretty simple. It gives you a very general overview, so you can mention that, and then leads into the next slide with a nice transition there. And then this goes over in detail the 3 types of banks that are listed on the slide. This does the same with the types of accounts. And then these are essentially word for word what I would say for this account as well. And then this last slide just has my references on it as well. And then just for a reference, here is also the outline that I use to plan my presentation around.